Deftones, Hexagram, Standard Tuning Method, Guitar Tabs, and Guitar Lesson. I'm going to play all the different parts right at the beginning. After that, I'll go back through, give the full explanation for everything. Before we jump in, do me a big favor, hit that subscription button. It's the best way of letting me know that you like this video and that you want to see more. And now, let's try it out. Alright, so once again, this is a standard tuning interpretation for this, and I think it works pretty well actually. The intro / chorus section, kind of starts with that clean tone at the start, but it's, pretty much the same deal. It starts with a big D flat sus2 chord, and I throw in the extra A flat bass note with it just to make it sound bigger there. And essentially that's just, barring the 4s and then add the 6 on the middle D and the G. All right, and the strumming is kind of like 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And kind of do that twice. All right, then we just drop down. Basically take that same shape, drop it down to the 1st fret. Okay, so we're just barring the 1s, and we got the 3 on the D and G. And this, we want that minor going on, so we just add a 2 on the B now. So this is like a B flat minor with the extra F bass note. All right, and it's kind of the same strum on that. And then from there, we just bring it on up and pretty much just bar the 8s on pretty much all the way down to the B, and then we add the 10s on the D and G. All right, and just kind of focus down to like maybe the B string. Don't really need the whole thing. Not a big deal if you hit the high E with it, but all right, and it's the same type of strum there. We just kind of finish out. All right, carry that out a little bit longer, and we would go through, kind of the first 3 chords again that we just did. But once we get to that final, F sus2 with the C bass note here, the 8s with the 10s, all right, we just kind of hit it maybe once, and then from there we shift the bass notes. We can keep the 10s on the D and G, but we just make the E and the A 9s. So basically just kind of like bring the middle finger there and make it 9s instead. All right, and there's a little weird thing with this final chord here on the second time through. The first time we do the whole thing, we just kind of hang out there for a little bit. All right, and then we would, restart the whole thing over again. But once we get to it the second time through, and we just basically stay right there and just hold it for, a good 4 measures or so. Okay, so just slowly. Once we get to these verse sections, I don't know, they might be bridges, I'm not sure. You got to be, pretty slick with your power chord movement here. It's just this real quick, back and forth stuff we got on here. In his tuning, it's lower, and he's taking advantage of a lot of opens, so we can do. It's a little easier that way. But here, if you're slick with your power chords, you can bust it out, and not a huge deal. So basically we're just sliding from this B power chord at the 7E with the 9 on the A, of course. Alright, and it's just a quick slide from there to the 6 and 8 at that B flat. Alright, and then we hit that once more at the 6 and 8, and then just cut it. Alright, and then we do this real quick, 7th fret power chord, slide it to the 6 and 8, and then down to the 4 and 6. And then we do this really quick back and forth between the B flat here at the 6th fret to the 4th fret, back to the 6th fret. And then we cut it, do that again. So slowly it's... Alright, and it takes a little getting used to when you get it up to speed, and we just crank through that whole thing, 3 times. Okay, I do it something like that. It's just a matter of getting up to tempo. Alright, like I said, crank through it 3 times, and in this first verse, we end it by doing, dropping down, hitting an E power chord here at the 7A with the 9 on the D. Drop that down to the 6 and 8 for the E flat. Bring it up a set for the B at the 7 and 9. And then finish by bringing it back up here to the 9A 11D. Alright, and that's kind of how we go through it in the first verse. We end the first verse, doing our same, doing that 3 times, but then we end it on a couple of C sharp power chords, the 4A with the 6s on the D and G. It's just bang, bang, and then finish on that, chord from the chorus there, the big F sus with the C power chord, the 8s with the 10s on the D and G. And we just kind of hit that and let it ring. In the second verse, bridge, whatever you prefer, it kind of adds a little something new, and then just kind of flips it on its head. Basically, we start with our kind of dynamic power chord strums here, and it's a little different. We start by doing the E power chord at the 7 and 9 on the A and D there, then the 6 and 8, jump up to the 7 and 9 on the E and A, and instead of going to the 9 and 11 on the A and D, we do the 9 and 11 on the E and A. Okay, so it just kind of switches it there, and we're starting with this once we get to the verse. Then we get into our sliding back and forth power chords at the 7 6 6 4 6. Okay, we do that 3 times. End it again with the way we started this verse. The 7s, 6, do the 7s up to the lower set of 9 and 11. All right, and after we get to it that time, then essentially we can just start from how the first verse bridge started, do our back and forth sliding power chords, and then we end it the same way we did in the previous verses, by ending on that 9A 11D. Okay, so it kind of throws a little curveball and spins it around a little bit, so little trick thing there to pay attention to. And the very end of the song basically just ends on those dynamic hits that happen at the end of the verse bridges there, the couple of C sharp power chords at the 4 and 6s here, and then finishing on that big F sus with the C at the 8s and 10 on the D and G. Okay, so it just ends with that little bit.